Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Hi everyone, sorry about that. It was all a bit sudden. Good evening everyone. We're going to open tonight's show with doing Transpicuous news because holy shit, it's one of those weeks. Now, I don't normally do the politics, but we're going to get into a little bit of politics tonight because again, it's been one of those weeks. So I'm going to start off and share my screen with you guys and walk you through some of the craziness we have seen. Oh, we're on the wrong screen here. Bear with me a second here, guys. Sorry. Okay, so if you haven't seen it, on yesterday I did an interview with Daniel Sakoff from PocketNet, which is a new social media platform based on the blockchain. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole bit. You guys can watch the video. It's just 30 minutes. I've spent the last 36 hours playing on PocketNet, and I've been having a blast. I put a post up a little while ago this afternoon saying, you know what? It's been a long time since I found a social media outlet where I could sit down in the open chat and talk to people and be with a whole pile of people who are really awake, really aware, well-researched. They're all on their journeys. Yeah, great platform. I'm enjoying it. It's only in beta and it still works really, really well. So I'm looking forward to see where it's going to go from there. But now we're going to jump into the actual news. So you guys may remember I did a geomagnetic update 2 days ago. We'll do the really, really brief flyby. Last week we had a whole pile of C flares. We had really increased X-rays. We had a CME that was incoming. It was supposed to have originally hit the 23rd, and then they said, no, it'll hit us on the 24th. And then they said, no, it'll hit us on the 25th. And it got really, really weird because, like I said, the graphs were showing stuff that was strange. I did this report. Now, a piece came in, and one of the unfuckers sent me this, which was amazing. She got an email update, an alert from the SWPC, okay, saying, warning, geomagnetic sudden impulse expected. And they were saying around the 24th of March. Then she got a second one saying, the summary of the geomagnetic sudden impulse, not a geomagnetic storm, mind you, but a sudden impulse, which is an unusual phrasing in itself. And they give the time that it happened, March 24th at 21:51. Well, it just so happened, and if you watch the video, because I did the video before I got that update, the feed cuts out at exactly that time. There's 1 hour of feed missing. And it's like, okay, 1 hour of feed missing. And we know they do this kind of stuff all the time. But since then, we have not had any live feed on the magnetosphere or on the solar wind velocity charts since 8 p.m. on the 25th. They've been down. There is no updates. This is the longest. I've seen them go 6 hours, 8 hours, 10, 12 hours, but we are now past 48 hours since these feeds have worked. So we have no idea. I have no idea. I can't track anything that's going along. Coincidentally, yesterday, let me slide this back up to the top. Donald Trump put out an executive order on coordinating national resilience to electromagnetic pulses. The purpose is an electromagnetic pulse, and EMP has the potential to disrupt, degrade, and damage technology, critical infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. And it says, now, the point of all this is human-made or naturally occurring EMPs can affect large geographical areas. But he only actually mentions solar, I think, once. Did the word solar come into it? It all talks about this EMP warnings, except that. Given all the geomagnetic shit that we have seen over the last few months, given the events, the fact that just so happens that the day after all the feeds go dead, this comes out. I'm asking, what do they know that they're not telling the rest of us? Because there's something here. There's something going on here. And like I said, I've done a lot of these reports over the last few months. I'm not going to go into all the little nitty-gritty details. You guys can go back and look at some of the stuff we've talked about. I find it very not coincidental that this is happening, that this statement, this executive order is coming out right now. So the next thing I want to talk about, let's talk about Brexit for a second. Now, if you are unfortunate enough to live in England at the moment, in the UK, I'm really sorry with what you're going through at the moment. It is complete insanity over there over this Brexit stuff. But there's so much going on. There's so many pieces that are flooding out now in transparency. This was a major one. So in the Brexit, Theresa May is pushing for the Brexit and all kinds of sob stories and so many lies and so much deceit. And Parliament is trying to block Brexit. They're trying to force another referendum. They're trying to do all these things because to force England to not leave the European Union. And then this article comes out. The peers, meaning all the lords and ladies, and the MPs are receiving millions from the EU in farm subsidies. The European Union bribed British politicians by giving them farming subsidies for crops that don't even exist. Is it any wonder that the British politicians are delaying Brexit? So the collusion, the outright fraud in this is epically insane. And we know this. Anyone who's followed Brexit from day one, this has been mass insanity. Now, the big one, of course, is Theresa May. Oh, well, Theresa May, this just came out 2 hours ago. Theresa May offers to quit if the MPs will back her Brexit deal. So you guys go with me on the Brexit stuff, and then I'll quit. You guys can vote in whoever you want to have. Vote in? No, my friends. The Queen will assign someone else to do this. So it's a brief rundown, and I'm going to give you only my opinion on this. This is just my opinion. After Cameron was forced to step down as Prime Minister, Queen Elizabeth put Theresa May into power as Prime Minister. The public had no vote. There was no democracy involved whatsoever. And then we have the rollout of the Brexit. And my reminder to the people is the Queen of England has already signed Brexit into law. That was done a few months ago. So Brexit is a done deal. So what's all the haggling going on? What's all the haggling going on? Now, we know how these votes happen. So when they have these big public referendums, so when Scotland tried to have their referendum to leave the UK, what happened? Complete and utter voter fraud. It was proven there was so much voter fraud, it was unbelievable. And oh, Scotland voted to stay within the UK, even though there was so many videos, articles, photos of outright voter fraud taking place. Why? Because the UK, i.e. the monarchy, didn't want Scotland to leave. So therefore, the vote came out to say Scotland's not leaving. We know how this goes. We've all well aware of how voting actually plays out, right? So now we have Brexit. They do a public referendum on Brexit and the public votes to leave. And the Queen has signed it into law. Let me rephrase that. I don't see any way that the vote would have gone any differently. If the vote was that they wanted to stay in, then it was because the Queen wanted them to stay in. If the vote went that they wanted to go out, it's because the Queen wanted that to happen, which is why she put Theresa May in there as Prime Minister in the first place. So there's a dog and pony show going on right now. And you got to wonder, now the one statement I made last week was, remember, the City of London is not part of the EU. The City of London is not part of the UK. The City of London stands as its own city-state. And that's where all the banks are. The banks are all in the City of London, nowhere else. So we're going to move on to that, talking about the EU, okay? If you're in the European Union, you need to know this. You need to go do some research. I will post the link to this video. It's, I think, 11 minutes long. You need to watch it. The EU Parliament just voted through Article 11 and Article 13, which is the copyright articles. And on the surface, as it's being played out to the public, it may sound all nice, oh, we're protecting copyrights for people. Yeah, no. This will destroy the internet in the European Union. There will be no more memes. All the memes that you've seen that have, pictures out of TV shows, movies, famous characters, etc., they're all illegal now. You will not be able to, for me, I will not be able to do what I've just done and post you a link to a news story. Because if I post a link to a news story, I then have to pay a tax, a copyright tax to that news story. And if I don't, then whatever platform I'm using to put my material out on will then have to pay a tax. It means you can't even quote the news. You cannot even quote an article anymore because it's all now copyright protected. This is the beginning of the end of the internet for European Union, and this is a test. This is a test, and if this goes through completely here in Europe, it's going across North America, it'll be all over the world next. This is a test. How is this going to play out? I don't know. But we're going to be talking about, there's been massive, massive demonstrations all over Europe against this for months now. The fact that this has come through, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. This is some crazy, crazy shit. The guy who's done this video, whose name has just gone right out of, Dave Cullen, really put together 11 minutes, everything you need to know. If you're in the EU, you need to watch this video. And if you're not in the EU, you still need to watch this video because it'll be coming to a country near you too. Now, the next piece I want to talk about literally almost made me throw up in my mouth a little bit when I read it. Donald Trump signs the declaration recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the disputed Golan Heights. I've been following the Golan Heights disputes, genocide, for years now. The fact that Donald Trump is now signing a declaration recognizing Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights is unbelievable bullshit. It is unbelievable cronyism. It is disgusting on a level that is, and the fact is that apparently the public don't remember. The public don't remember when this first came out. Okay, 2013, Israel grants the first Golan Heights oil drilling license to Dick Cheney's company. Well, it's not his company. He's linked to the company. Dick Cheney, Rothschild, Rupert Murdoch, okay? Israel had granted a U.S. company the first license to explore for oil and gas in the occupied Golan Heights. a local subsidiary of the New York-listed company Genie Energy, which is advised by former Vice President Dick Cheney, and whose shareholders will include Jacob Rothschild and Rupert Murdoch, will have the exclusive rights to a 153 square mile radius in the southern part of the Golan Heights, where they had just found oil. And now, once everyone's kind of forgotten who it is who's going to be, reaping the benefits of all that oil, Trump is now supported that Israel has the right to sell that piece of land for the oil. There are no words. Literally, there are no words for the shit that's playing out right now. And it goes on. And it goes on. This is a translation from Caracas in Venezuela. Venezuela denounces illegal diversion of funds from the republic to personal accounts of the opponents. More than $1 billion has been diverted from the accounts of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela in their international banks. The international banks that hold funds around the world for Venezuela have diverted $1 billion to personal accounts of right-wing leaders abroad to finance terrorist cells against the country. Terrorist cells against the country. Go down here, whereas in the last 2 months, more than $30 billion has been stolen from these international bank accounts. He noted that under the protection of the government of Donald Trump, they are stealing all the money from medicines, food, supplies of agro-industry and industry to the entire Venezuela homeland, and they're putting it into their pockets and into the pockets of, the self-proclaimed opposition who just claimed that they're going to be president back in January. This should start to sound really, really familiar to everyone, especially over the last 4 years. Now, Russia has a treaty with Venezuela that supports them in times of need. And this past week, Russia sent troops to Venezuela. And now Trump's government is making statements saying Russia must get out of Venezuela. All options are open. U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that Russia must get out of Venezuela. 2 plane loads of Russian troops are currently in the Latin American country under the terms of a 2001 cooperation agreement. It is a treaty between 2 sovereign nations, and some asswipe named Donald Trump is telling Russia they got to get out. This is insane. Okay, this is a statement that was made by Bolton, John Bolton, and this man has given us the absolute facts. This man, John Bolton, has said the U.S. is going in for the oil. We want Venezuela's oil. He said it on international press conference. You don't get much more clear cut than that. The United States will not tolerate hostile foreign military powers meddling with the Western Hemisphere's shared goals of democracy, security, and the rule of law. The Venezuelan military must stand with the people of Venezuela. Note to John Bolton, the Venezuelan military are standing with the people of Venezuela, which is why the Russians are coming in to support the Venezuelan military. Rule of law? Whose fucking rule of law? The U.S.'s rule of law, i.e. you have the assets and we're going to take them? Is that the rule of law he's quoting here? This is Syria all over again. Syria 2015. Here we go. Russia's coming in to protect the Venezuelan assets and to help Venezuela protect themselves. Syria all over again. This week has been epically insane. Epically. Like, I haven't been following the politics for a while because literally I just don't have the stomach. And if I roll my eyes anymore, one of these days they're going to get stuck there. This is insanity. Another little piece of news is that the French government has authorized the French military to open fire with live ammunition on yellow vest protesters if they decide that people are threatened. If the public is threatened by the protesters, the military now apparently has the authorization to open fire. I don't know about you, but that's more insanity than I can take in a single week. A single week. I've been doing these news shows for years now, and these are the kind of news stories that we used to get once every couple of months. And now we're getting multiple of them all playing out within a single week. And I've only given you guys the bare basics. Like, this is just, I haven't even talked about the fact that Israel is bombing the shit out of Palestine right now. Literally, it's mass genocide is happening in Palestine at the moment. I'm not talking about some of this shit that's happened in Saudi Arabia. I'm not even going to get into the fucking weather. We'll talk about that in the Unfuck It discussion that's coming up next. I'm not talking about the Canadian Prime Minister who needs to step down because he's personally implicated in the one of the biggest fucking scandals in Canadian history right now. Epic insanity. But that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a little something to chew on for a few minutes. It's the end of Transpicuous News. And then we can turn on the cameras and we'll have the Unfuck It discussion.
Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.